I'm hand holding. So if this starts to make anybody nauseous, if I start to kind of do that thing,
it's Andy Vision.
let me know.
Welcome to Photography Chat with Merlin. Photography Chat with Merlin.
All right, welcome to another episode of Photography Chat. We're in season 3, episode this is 2021. Is it 21 or 22? My memory is terrible right now. But we got Andy with us here, and
It's all the same.
it is 22. Sorry, it is episode 22.
22, yeah. It all blurs together, man.
And I forget like what I did like 20 minutes ago. So like my memory is terrible these days. But you want to take a moment to let the folks know about you there, Andy?
Sure. Yeah. Hey, I'm Andy Odom. I mentioned this earlier when the music started, in case anybody, I have a habit of like rocking in a chair. So if that background movement gets anybody motion sick or something, just tell me to stop. I'll try to keep it under control there so it's not too annoying. Andy Odom. I live in Denton, Texas.
If you're going to spew into this. Sorry.
I might have an extra box. I don't know if that box is going to hold it, though. Just that dinner.
Go ahead, Andy. Sorry.
That's all right. I've been doing film photography, one form or another, for better part of a decade. Really kind of started with Polaroid and instant film, and kind of, once you bite or get bitten by the bug, it doesn't stop with just one. You're in. You get stuck with every other format that you can afford or chase down. So, I work with Instant Film Society. I'm on the board there. Also help organize the PolaCon instant film conferences that we're staring down PolaCon 7, which is going to happen towards the end of September between Dallas and Denton, Texas. We just had our second in-person PolaCon Bay Area in March. We had one in 2019, and then we had a virtual one in between because of COVID. Actually, the very first one was...
No, it was 2020. It was just as the pandemic was starting.
It was 2020.
Because I remember
San Francisco...
You and Daniel took off early because you're like, this COVID thing's getting scary. Like, we're going to get out of here.
It was just too much. And like the next day, San Francisco went on lockdown. So it was like, that's how, how close, COVID was to like really happening and impacting things. So we only had to take 1 year off as far as making it more of a virtual thing. That worked really well. We had the normal PolaCon in September was also virtual in 2020. Both of those are back in person now. So, I am honored to be on this show with you, Merlin. I'm so glad you asked. And I know you have a lot of very talented photographers on here. I am honored to be included on that list. I don't think I deserve it, but I appreciate being a part of this.
Everyone deserves it. Like, it's we're all talented in our own rights, and we all bring different things to the photography community. And that's part of the whole chat. I kind of want it to be like, I don't know, not really democratic, but like maybe more socialist. Not quite communist, but everyone has something to contribute.
I agree.
So how did you get started with photography originally?
I think probably very, very originally, it goes back to when I was a little kid, and my dad had bought, and we were a big like National Lampoon summer vacation kind of family. My dad thought, taking the kids on summer vacation on massive road trips across the country, that's just the American way. It's what we do. And he was a little bit of a shutterbug for a while, nothing too fancy or anything. And I remember one day he went to the local Kmart and came back with a Minolta X370 and 3 different focal lenses and would not let me touch them because I was going to mess something up.
Brandy has a similar story with Minolta there.
Yeah. And he took that and shot, I don't know how many rolls of Kodachrome, Ektachrome with that on vacations, always slide films so he could do slide presentations with friends, invite everybody over when we got back home from vacation and everything. And he was so proud of this camera. And as a kid, I just thought, that has got to be one of the nicest cameras. And there's a reason why he's so protective, and I can't even get anywhere near it. And I think that kind of, my inability, my desire to get so close, I was like, I'm that thing. I want to do that thing. I want to take pictures too. I now have that camera. It still works because Minoltas are great. I love Minoltas. Club Minolta, all the way. And
Hashtag Minolta gang.
That's right. I didn't really do much. It wasn't really much of a thing. I'd had a couple little cameras here and there, and it was just I don't know. Just didn't really most of my life after that until like even out of college, and it was just a passing interest. I always thought it was kind of cool. Always appreciated photography, and it really wasn't until I'm not sure exactly what year it was. But I was volunteering with a local music and arts culture kind of festival that was here in Denton for a while. And it was kind of patterned after South by in a lot of ways, South by Southwest. There were a lot of bands because we had a lot of venues in town. And there was also day panels, different discussion groups, and special guest speakers and things like that. And Daniel Rodrigue from Instant Film Society and one of the other founders, I can't remember if it was Justin? I can't remember who was with him. And maybe Armand from Denton Camera was there too. And he just kind of went into the whole thing about the whole spiel of the history of Polaroid, where it is now. And Impossible had just kind of shifted the brand a little bit. Then, the packaging, it was the more familiar later period of Impossible film where it was being sold in stores and, mostly usable, that sort of thing. So he was able to get some demos on some old Polaroids. That was kind of my first reminder that Polaroid was still a thing and it was still possible. And I was just fascinated by it. And he took a picture of me afterwards that, of course, the way Daniel does, it came out absolutely perfect. And I still have it. And it still looks great. And I thought, well, I want to do this too. I want to get in on this. And so I went to the next day, went to Denton Camera Exchange, bought a 600 box camera and a couple packs of Impossible film, and that's it. And after that, it was getting my dad's old Minolta up and running. 35 millimeter sounds pretty fun. I want to do this too. And then it's medium format after that. And then I got an Intrepid 4x5. And then,
Oh, and you got the fancy Leica, the fancy Leica one now too, right?
I have progressed. Yeah. I got the fancy Leica. I'll hold it up here and show it off.
Was that the MP or the MA?
Let's see, there we go. You can see this is the MP film, of course. If I can't really hold this camera right. There we go. Yeah. Absolutely love this thing. I find myself if I'm in meetings during the day at work or something, I find myself just holding it, just under the desk so nobody can see. What do you do with the camera in the middle of a work call? But I love that thing.
It's funny. So when in the before times, I used to bring cameras with me because it's my safety blanket. So I usually have my Nikon F5 or something with me, and so I sell high tech, and people be like, "Why is the guy that's supposed to be selling this high tech walking in with something from the '90s?" What's up with that?
Because it's cool, man.
Yeah, it's very cool. You can't go wrong with it.
They're instant icebreakers too. Everywhere I go with a Polaroid, you always get stopped and asked, do they still make film for that thing? Whoa, is that a real Polaroid? I had my Hasselblad in Galveston a couple weeks ago, and within 5 minutes, I walked by two different groups of people on the Strand, and within 5 minutes, I had two different older guys, both commenting, is that a real camera? Is that film? What kind of that's a camera, right? And I kind of I tend to be really introverted, but it is kind of nice. I don't know, there's something kind of about that. Like, okay, cool, I can talk about a camera for about 5 minutes with a stranger before I have to awkwardly walk away. But
it is awkward sometimes too, though, because I get those like old photo bros, like, the old white dudes with the camera.
Yeah.
Like there's one dude, a friend and I were walking to get some tacos in Gastown a couple days ago, and this kind of like weird, quasi sketchy looking like old dude like was just hobbling straight for me, and I was like, why is this guy like he's like coming at me like a torpedo? And when he's like about a foot and a half away from me, he's like, I thought I smelt a Leica. Because I was holding my X Pro 2, but he's like, what Leica is that one? And I'm like, it's not a Leica,
right.
It's a Fuji. He's like, I've got a Fuji too. And I'm like, oh, I don't really want to be friends with you. Like, this is super awkward.
Yeah. Like, okay, now's not the time. I was looking for a friend now.
Yeah. It's interesting, like the tension that they gather sometimes, though. Was someone says here, Brownie Hawkeye gets looks too. I can only imagine.
I bet.
And I feel like Dan says, shout out to Daniel, a legend. And
absolutely.
Zane commented when your MP, which, for people that aren't familiar with Leica out there, the MP stands for mechanical perfection. It's the most sublime Leica they've created. And Zane commented, photographic opium.
It really is. It's worth wasting film just to have a chance to shoot it. Just let me find an excuse to get out of the house and put rolls for it. I don't even care if the pictures show up. It's just fun to use.
So I never really understood the whole Leica thing until I got to use one. A friend of mine loaned me an M3. And I both appreciated and cursed it because, like, now I really want to like it because I understand what the whole thing is behind it. I never got that before.
Mm-hmm.
And
oh,
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, it's fine. I'll remember.
No, I kind of went through that too for a while. It's one of the things I liked about Minolta, or just kind of going down that route, was I liked, and think that kind of interesting about Polaroid was, I like the kind of the basic consumer level kind of thing. I liked being able to take interesting pictures or cool pictures or having a certain vibe and, not having to spend a lot of money like those snooty gatekeepers, and obviously I've kind of changed my tune. Not that I'm like trying to be a gatekeeper or anything, but it's, once you use one, it's like, okay, well, if you're going to do this thing, and a lot of people who are musicians that aren't full-time musicians or aren't in like big bands or anything, but they want a certain type of guitar. It's not just the cheapy. Nothing wrong with like the cheapy pawn shop guitar, but once you switch up to that really nice Gibson or that perfect kind of Fender Strat with the configuration you're looking for, it's like, if this is your hobby, this is your pastime, and something that you really love spending your time doing. The tools make a difference, and there is a certain element of you get what you pay for kind of a thing. And so, having a little bit of a luxury thing is really, I don't know. There is a difference. It's not, you're not a real photographer unless you have this sort of a kind of camera thing. But for those that those type of things matter, once you use a Leica for a little bit, or just kind of feel one, it's just kind of like, oh, I get it. I really get it now.
Well, and that applies.
You can still take really terrible pictures with one. It hasn't saved me in any way.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you take better pictures. But I think that applies to so many other things too. Like, you get what you pay for. Sure. When I started season 3, I decided to spend some extra money and upgrade the production value of the chat. And so I bought this thing.
Yeah.
I bought this Zoom PodTrack P4, which is an excellent little device.
Yeah.
But I bought it because it was only $250 Canadian, which is like, I think $50 American. That's a little bit more than that. But I bought this because it was cheaper. What I actually wanted, and I couldn't justify at the time getting, was the Rodecaster Pro. I just felt like it was like way too much, and it wasn't gonna like, this would be good enough. And it was for a while, but then I just, as I started using it more, I was like, I wish I had some of those like Procaster features, and I ended up caving and buying the Procaster a few episodes back, and now I'm like, why did I buy the other thing in the first place? But what this is handy for is when I'm traveling, I can take this along with me, and I can still do the chats from the road. So the pod track still has a home, but I should have just spent the money on the Procaster in the first place, because and now just after I bought this, Rode released the new Procaster 2, which is just fucking bonkers.
Yeah, I thought I saw there was a new one out.
Yeah, that thing looks even more crazy. Now I'm like, of course, like a month after I buy this thing.
It always is. And then you're like, well, it's not too late. This one's not really used. Could I sell it? And
yeah, exactly.
Even take a small loss, and then it's still a little bit of money towards the brand new one. Oh, I've been there too.
But I've
dabbled in. It's true. It's true. Not to get off on podcasting talk too much. I dabbled in it for a little while. I have a Rode podcaster mic. Ever heard of those?
Oh yeah. Is that the USB one, or is it an XLR?
The USB one. Which I found to be really convenient and pretty good quality for what it was, for just needing a little USB mic, but something a little bit better than a Yeti Snowball.
Rode makes fantastic
stuff. Sound like a gatekeeper, but
no, Rode makes fantastic stuff.
Yeah, they really do. Yeah,
like that's I'm using the pod mic right now for it, and when I'm on the road or whatever, I use the wireless Goes. Those things are freaking amazing.
Yeah, I've heard of those.
Yeah, they're fantastic, and the latest one, the Wireless Go 2, is even more interesting because you can actually plug it into a computer and access the microphones on the computer with it. So like the original Wireless Go was just through the mini plug jack is how you interface with it, and you'd use the USB-C for charging. But with the Wireless Go 2, for anyone that like wants to maybe try to get into podcasting or does streaming or anything like that, with the Wireless Go 2, you can actually plug it into your computer, use the mic interface for it, and then they have like this free software that comes with it that's like a Procaster Lite. So it gives you like some sound buttons and recording functions, and it's actually pretty slick. So like the whole Rode ecosystem is an interesting gateway for people who might want to play with podcasting or streaming, or if they work from home and do a lot of audio stuff, want to like up their audio game, because who doesn't want to give Bob from HR, is this the one? Or that one? Yeah, it's like,
I was hoping to get sound effects. I'm so glad you played the drop.
This one's the silliest one, I think. Yeah. Actually, hey, wait. Hold your Leica MP up again for a second.
Oh, okay. Okay, hold on.
Do like a slow bring it up from the bottom of the screen.
Okay, you ready? Ready?
Oh, okay.
Wait, can I be an extra jerk? Try it again. You ready?
Okay, one more time. Oh, an M5. we'll give that one.
I had to show it off all I could. Yeah,
a big shout out to the M5 for being the chonkiest Leica in the Leica family.
Man, I love it. It's great. It is a slightly bigger boy, but wow, I love using that thing.
That's a very chunky boy, that one.
It's super fun.
That's cool. So since you've been playing around with the photography stuff for a little bit, and you've managed to get the Minolta out of your dad's hands, what have been some of the more interesting or fun projects you've worked on, or like photos that you've before we jump into that, John over at Carrollsdale Camera here in the Lower Mainland, the M5 is his ultimate favorite camera. Like, he just loves that camera.
It definitely has a fan base, and I get it. I can see it. I mean, it's just, especially if you have like larger hands, fits a little bit better because it's a little bit larger. I think there are times when I look at the MP and this is normal and body shape, and I'm like, it really is a small camera. It's almost compact, but not really. I don't know, but yeah, I think for good reason it has a pretty devoted fan base.
Yeah, it really does. But back to the other question I had there. What's been one of the most favorite things you've done, like a project or like a photo or a series of photos that you've really enjoyed?
It's a good question. It's weird for me because I don't really think in terms of like projects. I don't think of like, it hasn't been something where I've had like a set goal in mind of doing something or shooting a thing. It's more of, if I find myself going somewhere, it's like, well, that might be an interesting thing to go take a picture of, or, I want to go check out this neighborhood, or, look for this type of building or this type of landscape or something like that. So I haven't really ever really gone out with that intention of thinking like, well, I'm doing a specified project that I'm working on with perhaps a beginning, a middle, and an end, and I'll know when I'm ready to move on to something different. I think I probably need to focus more. What I've been thinking about lately is actually trying to go back into some of the old stuff and thinking, okay, I want to put together maybe a couple of zines. This is a project I've had in mind to try to do. I know a lot of people have put those together all the time, or have tried that sort of thing. Of kind of collect some of the pictures that they've done over time, and maybe do a couple of Polaroid ones and a couple of film ones, or maybe a 35 millimeter and a medium format and a Polaroid one, and just kind of have a better reason or a little bit more of an intention behind doing something with the photography and getting it in front of more people in a way. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't really think of it in terms of like project wise. It's just kind of, if I'm going somewhere, well, this is where I want to go and shoot, but more of just kind of like getting to go there is a good excuse to bring one of the cameras or a couple of cameras along and take some pictures that I hope work out.
That makes sense. So what's one of your most favorite photos you've taken been then?
I think one of the ones I shared with you, the two Vegas showgirls from Fremont Street that I think you used in like a promo post.
Yeah, that was the Polaroid one, right?
Yeah, it's a Polaroid one. And I want to say that's on Impossible Film.
Oh, wow.
It's a few years old.
The colors look so good on it, though.
That was just, in fact, that might have been an early boxing. I'm not sure if that was I can't remember exactly what camera I took that with. I think it's a regular 600 box camera with a flash. And that thing is still holding up. It still looks that way. I looked at it recently. So that's on a recent scan, but it's the colors still look great. I know sometimes the old Impossible film is faded a little bit. I was just really, really pleased with how that one turned out. I didn't know, because Fremont has all the lights and everything, but it's still it was at night. It's still kind of dark in there, and I knew I was going to need a flash and everything. So just tried it. I was really surprised how it turned out. And one of the it really cracked me up too, because I think it was like my first time in Vegas. I wasn't sure. I knew I probably had to pay a little extra. I knew how that game kind of worked. I didn't know how much. And it's like, oh, can I tip you a couple bucks? And they're like, 20. I'm like, are you kidding? $20 just to take your picture. And one of them, I believe, was a little out of it. I don't know how or what, but she did not understand the concept of a Polaroid.
Really?
And she just thought, I'm getting my picture taken. I'd like to have a copy. Can you email me a copy, or can you send it here?
Can you email
And I'm like, I wish, can I get another picture? You can have it. They're like, I'm like, okay, I'm not paying you another $20 for another picture.
Yeah.
The other one finally like kind of looked at me and was like, just it's okay. Just go. Like she was trying to explain to the other one that no, it's a film thing. It's not digital. You can't email it. No, that's okay. But just give me I want to see a copy of it. Can you just send me a copy? And the other one just finally was like, just go. It's okay. Just go. I got her. Just go. And I just left after that. But I thought I was really pleased with how that picture turned out. Another one I shared with you, the cocktail on the table. That is I've always enjoyed how the lighting turned out on that one too. That was with a SX70.
That's that bar
downtown.
SX70
film.
That's that bar in the square, right?
Yeah, Pascal Bar.
Yeah. That place is really cool. Armand took a ton of really cool photos there.
Yeah, I think that was that like an after polo walk thing at PolaCon?
No, it was the movie was playing downstairs, and a bunch of us decided to just go upstairs because we'd watch the movie or didn't want to watch the movie.
That's right.
The movie in question was Instant Dreams, which is it wasn't very informative about the history of Polaroid, but it was very interesting from a creative perspective of like people who have used Polaroid to create, and very dreamy and fantastical and a little bit surreal.
Very trippy.
It's a good watch.
Definitely worth checking out. Yeah. But yeah. So that picture is from that. That's just a handheld SX70. Again, one of those things where it's like it wasn't supposed to turn out at all. I can't believe that really did. I think it like the lighting on that. I like that really a lot. Like the color of the cocktail with the curtains behind it and everything. I just think that really works together well. So that's another picture I'm really happy with.
It almost looks like Cinestill.
Yeah, it kind of does. Yeah.
Yeah. If only it was a gas station, then it would have been perfect.
I know. Bad luck on that one.
I also like, is that the big wheel from the Texas State Fair, the black and white one?
Yeah, that's a time lapse. So I guess, I don't know, like I said, I don't really think in terms of like a project or anything. But getting to go to the State Fair every year, like a built-in excuse to go, especially on opening day. To me, that's kind of grown into a thing of we just buy season passes, and I go back and take 2 or 3 different cameras and as much film as I can every single time. And last year, so I don't know, it was last year or a year before, one of our folks got in trouble for having a tripod, and we've never gotten in trouble before.
Really?
But it was opening day, and I think they were like extra on the rules that day or something. And we were doing a group photo behind Big Tech like we always do. And somebody in security walked up and was like, "Where's your press badge? You're not supposed to have equipment like tripods. You're supposed to have permission for that. And if you don't have permission, you need to put it away and make sure you know not to bring it back." So we didn't really get in super trouble, but it was like, "Hey, put that away. You don't have access to that." And so I thought, well, we should. Like, they know who we are. They know we do this every year, and they've retweeted us before and posted in our Facebook events and that kind of stuff. So I just thought, surely there's a way to request media badges. So I did, and we got a couple of badges for the rest of the season last year.
That's awesome.
And I'm going to go back this year and ask for some more. So for anybody who needs to bring some extra equipment, we'll have some extra, ideally, hopefully, we'll have some press badges that we can assign to some folks if we need to have tripods or something like that. But yeah, for the longest time, I was taking tripods in there, even at night, and just, small ones, stick them in my bag and that kind of stuff. And breaking out either the SX70 or one of the newer Polaroids with the app, what was it, the Now and I'm looking at the One Step 2s and Now Pluses and things like that have the app integration, that they do time lapse and long exposures kind of built into the app. Let's set up a tripod and take pictures all over the Midway at night and everything. And I guess that might be one of the favorite consistent things. And maybe that'll be a good subject for a zine or a project or something like that, is, as much of the Midway and State Fair on Polaroid as possible. And I always get so, it's a mix of getting inspired and getting, imposter syndrome. And I see all of the other pictures that the other PolaCon attendees take and the things that they see. And like, oh, I walked right past it. How did I miss that? And, but I think that's why I just kind of like keep going back. And even though it's the same thing every time, going back, 5 or 6 times throughout the season. And that's a long drive but all right, just it's really fun to me. So it's always a good subject.
It's only like 45 minutes, right?
Not quite that long if the traffic's good.
Yeah.
So it's, it's a decent little haul, but it's not terrible.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to going back this year because I was really bummed out to miss last year, but I've already got my time booked off, so we'll definitely be there. A couple questions ago, I feel like Dan asked if there would ever be an NYC PolaCon, and before you answer that, there needs to be a Canadian one first.
I can say we'd never really thought about doing it anywhere outside of Denton until Brian Brooks from East Bay Photo Society. I'm not
twisted your
not
guys'
sure
arms about it.
Yeah, like he came out all the way to Texas. Like, this has got to happen elsewhere. Like, bring this out.
Wasn't it? He's like, if you don't sponsor it, I'm going to steal it.
I think that's kind of what it was. And I've told him to. He could have just stolen it. Like, we probably would have been a little mad and also pretty flattered. But I think it was a very solid thing to do, to kind of say, let's, connect communities and grow this thing. And everybody who wants to do it in one of the different cities already getting the idea of, oh yeah, we can just do this. We actually have an article. I think we either posted something on the Instant Film Society Instagram about how to organize your own Pola walk and own events and some of the lessons that we've learned and things like that. So again, kind of going back, we don't intend or want to necessarily be gatekeepers on any of this stuff. So it's more about the spreading the community and awareness of the film. But yeah, I mean, we've done it in San Francisco a couple of times. We've had people ask us about a lot of other cities. We would love to do it. It's weird because we don't want to not do it in San Francisco again. But also it would be really fun to see other cities and meet up with some other communities and some other folks. So, I mean, I can say conversations have been had. There are a lot of things that we recognize would be nice. If you want one in your city, chances are we would love to have an excuse to visit your city. So it would be as much fun for us. But at the same time, I want to put out there, like, permission is required in any kind of way. If that makes any kind of sense.
So I guess the answer, Dan, is if you want a PolaCon in New York, you better get your shit together and put it together.
When it comes to New York, I don't know if that's...
You guys want to sponsor that one? Maybe? I don't know. Because I'm sure Ben would be interested in helping put that together and stuff too, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, conversations have happened for some specific cities. So.
And then Dan also asked... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Dan also asked, has Polaroid ever reached out about PolaCon with a sponsorship or approval of it?
Kind of. We have never gotten any kind of like heads up or alerts or contacts about using the Pola part, kind of tying into their brand or anything. So I think we're in the clear there. They haven't reached out for any like official sponsorships, but we've had, I believe Patrick came out a few years ago when One Step was first announced. So then when they started making new cameras outside of the I1, right? So it was after Impossible when they became Polaroid. Patrick came out with the new One Step and
Polaroid Originals
and gave Polaroid Originals, correct? Originals, thank you. So yeah, Polaroid did come out one year to do some demos on the new camera, which was super fun. And they've been great because we do different scavenger hunts and give away some prizes and things like that. And to people who attend. And Polaroid's been great about supplying film and cameras and T-shirts and beanie caps and camera straps and things like that. So they are aware of us. They've been, great friends and partners from that standpoint. But nothing like on an official side like PolaCon presented by Polaroid or anything like that. But if anybody knows anybody, if anybody's listening, we would love to enter into a partnership like that with Polaroid. So feel free to, and if anybody wants to tag them and see if they'll join or something, I don't know.
You guys need to make like a Polaroid sponsor me video, and then also do one for Fuji and see which one you can like set them up.
Hey, we would, maybe I don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot by, sure, hey, Fuji, come on in. Yes, we'd be open to that too. I don't know if one company would be offended if we kind of said that out loud, but versus another, but we would love Fuji to come out too.
You guys can be like, poly for film. That's fine.
Maybe it can be the 11th anniversary Instant Film Society State Fair of Texas Polo Walk presented by Fuji Instax US. And then Saturday Zines and Things sponsored by Polaroid or something like that. We'd be happy to.
Yeah, they could co-parent PolaCon,
Yeah. And State Fair could sponsor something too if they really wanted to. We have enough of a presence there every opening day. So.
The first time I went to the State Fair, the big signs when you walk in that were like no firearms, kind of like still stick out in my mind because I was just like, as a Canadian kid, that's not a common thing because like there's just no guns other than cops. Like the only people with guns that kill people here are cops and like some criminals.
Oh yeah, in Texas you have to remind people. Like at the airport, it's like nobody gets in trouble for having. Well, I won't say that. People can get in trouble for having guns at the airport, but it's such a common thing in Texas airports.
It's just like, shit, I forgot that I have a gun in my pants.
My gun.
Yeah.
Whoopsies. Yeah, it's exactly. And they're like, all right, they kind of wag your finger and throw it away or confiscate it and let you get on your plane.
It's kind of like, I forgot my gun.
There was even a story a few years ago of Barry Switzer, the coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Like the Cowboys are getting on their chartered flight to get to a game, and he had forgotten a gun in his bag and got flagged at the airport for it. Like it's that pervasive and stupid. It's just like. Guns everywhere. They're in every one of your bags, and you have so many of them in so many places. You just forget them until you get to the airport. Well, and then it's like, oh, you forgot your gun, sir. We have to take it, but have a good flight.
Yeah, exactly. I was having lunch at Mi Casita one day, and I look out the window, and there's like a homeless guy pushing a shopping cart, and he's got like a big silver gun hanging out of the back of his pants, and I was just like,
why wouldn't he?
Even the homeless people have guns in Texas. Like,
oh yeah.
Here people are upset that homeless people have iPhones, but in Texas they got guns. Like,
they're everywhere. It's insane.
It is kind of insane. One more on the pictures that you shared here. I really liked. Well, the Coors one was really cool, but I especially liked the derelict gas station one where it's just like the lights left. And where was that one taken?
Yeah. Colorado,
okay.
Right outside of Twin Lakes. Both of those pictures were taken in Colorado about 15 minutes apart. So I was up there for vacation. Actually, it was like COVID vacation. We thought, what's a good way to get out of the house and get out of town, but also stay far away from people? And stay socially distanced. We thought, well, Colorado has a lot of empty space, so let's try that. And so, yeah, again, going someplace and thinking that would be a good excuse. I haven't shot Colorado, so that'd be fun to take some cameras out and do some stuff. So both of those, I think, were with the MP and probably Portra 400. probably. I can't remember exactly what film. I would have to look it up. I have it recorded somewhere. But yeah, it was an old car lot next to an old gas station that was abandoned long time ago. And then but further up the road, turning off to where the Airbnb was, that bar was on the corner. Don't know how it went out of business. I think there's a handful of people out there that could probably kept it going, but that core sign had survived. So I thought I need to get a shot of that too.
Yeah, it was a really cool sign.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
So now that you've got the MP, does the Minolta ever make it out to play still?
Not the X370. I have an X700. Sorry, X700. Yeah. Which I like a lot, and every now and then I'll bust that out and play with it a little bit. I got a weird hair a few months ago, probably another quarantine distraction during COVID. So I started looking at all the different accessories for the X700 because you see the body, but then you start seeing some of the promo, like marketing pictures and flyers that came with it in the box or something, and all the different accessories, and I read about how, at least when it came out, it was so top of the line for professionals that do any kind of photography and stuff. And they had the motor winder accessory add on to it, and a flash, and I don't know if those cameras have flashes, but just kind of seeing like all the different things you can do outside of just all the different lenses. And I thought, I want to try that with that camera just for fun. And you can probably get on eBay and find that stuff pretty affordably. And you can. I think like the motor drive was like less than $100 or something. It wasn't crazy. And of course, it takes 8 AA batteries, so it weighs about 20 pounds. Just the handle, just the motor drive and battery pack and everything. And then you put on the camera. Then you put a flash on top of it. And I'm just used to modern things being a little bit more compact, a little bit more streamlined. And this was just amazing. Just glorious 80s, hard angles, everything weighed 30 pounds, so impractical in size and everything. But you hit the shutter, and when the motor makes that sound, it's like, that's the sound, like that's fun. That's just so cool. So I haven't really taken that out because it is just so cumbersome and heavy. But again, just more of a quarantine distraction of I'd like to just get more stuff with this little camera.
Yeah, it's fun to fully kit out those things. Like I have a problem with that.
It is.
When I get a camera, if it has all those other accessories, like I want to fully kit it out to make it a complete set. You can't deny the camera its fullest expression. It needs all the accessories. It needs the different lenses and the flashes and the filters and otherwise you're denying its fullest ideal self. It needs to live. Exactly.
So
it's a peacock.
I support you in that.
You got to let it spread its wings.
Yes, exactly. You need to. Yes, exactly. It needs to weigh 40 pounds with 8 AA batteries inside.
So
just so you can get that ka-chink kind of sound, that motorized. It needs that.
Oh man, like that sound kills me. Like that's what I love about like old film cameras, especially, is just that shutter noise. Like my F5 is an 8 battery beast as well too, and I especially love it for street photography because it's just a big hunk of metal with like 10 pounds of batteries in it. So if someone comes at you on the street, you could just whack him with it and still take pictures. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I like there's something to be said about, the street photography mentality is usually, you want something small and sleek. You want a smaller, a black camera that just kind of fades into the background. It doesn't draw attention to itself. Or you just go, like you said, 40 pounds with a flash, just go nuts. Who's the guy in New York that actually carries that handheld flash around and gets in people's faces?
Is that Minolta?
Go off and,
Yeah.
I think, you can just go in that direction too. Fully support it.
I don't really love that kind when it's strangers, but I have been with some friends lately. I bought this really cheap Pancake Lens off of Amazon from my X Pro 2. It's like it's from a Chinese company called Rockstar, and it's a 10 millimeter f8, and it's just like a tiny little pancake lens.
Wow.
Like the lens is like that big on it, like it's super duper tiny. But paired with the shitty flash that came with the Fuji system, which is this little pop-up flash, it's the coolest combo for like getting like that far from someone's face and just taking a picture of it. Just like getting this like blown out expression of them. And that's been kind of fun at like parties and stuff.
That's cool. That's a great thing. I have a little I'm drawing a blank. X100V. I was thinking about getting the wide angle attachment for the lens, kind of for that reason. I'd like that. It's supposed to be like to carry with you, not point and shoot, but kind of point and shoot. Kind of a thing. But I don't think the 35 millimeter equivalent on there is wide enough for really using for a lot of different angles, especially like indoors and that sort of thing.
Well, 35 mils.
I'd love to find.
Well, so yeah, the 35. Is it?
I think it's a 35 equivalent. Yeah, I think.
Okay, so that's not too bad then. It's a bit wider. Like I use a what is it? Sorry, excuse me. I use the 35 like mostly, which is like a 50 mil equivalent on the X Pro 2. And then picked up a 16 recently, which I think that's like a bit, it's like just under 30 or something like that. So it's a little bit wider, which is nicer for like some outdoor stuff. But, it's just that cheap Amazon lens. I was like, for $100, like, it got my curiosity with it. And it didn't disappoint. It was really cool. But that X100V is a really cool camera too, just for like everyday shooting.
Yeah, super fun. I love it.
And 35 mil is a nice like street shooter focal length. Yeah,
it's what I normally have on the Leicas 35. But yeah, I've just kind of noticed this. Yeah, when I have the Fuji out and I'm using it, I just kind of think I wish it was a little bit wider actually. And they make that a little add-on lens. It's supposed to be pretty solid. So I thought about kind of adding that on there. Again, one of those things that adds a little bulk to it, extra weight and everything. But
or maybe it's just time to go.
But worth it if you want to get something a little bit wider for indoor shots or something like that.
Yeah, or maybe it's just time to get yourself an M11.
Why not? I'll just sell my car and.
Yeah, you don't need a car. Like, that's fine.
That's what Uber and Lyft is for.
Actually, I saw an article that was interesting the other day because I had this experience with Uber while I was in Toronto recently. Is that the era of subsidized Uber rides is coming to an end. What I don't think most people realize is that the cheap rates that we've gotten used to paying for Uber rides is not actually what Uber is paying to haul our asses around. Uber has been losing tens of millions of dollars ever since it, like, I think maybe it's like hundreds of millions at this point. They've been losing money on every ride that they're giving people because they figured that they could take over the market by volume. And so now they're having to adjust that because they haven't been profitable ever. And so now they're trying to figure out how to get profitability. And so Uber rides now are getting closer to what their actual prices are. And some people are starting to notice that they've gone up. Like when I was in Toronto a couple of weeks ago, I needed to go from downtown to the HPE offices, which were like by the airport. That should be like a $35 to maybe $50 ride at most, plus tip. When I looked at the Uber, it was $120.
Oh my gosh.
And I sent my boss a screenshot of it, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure that I don't have to ask about this, but you're not going to approve this if I do this right. And he's like, fuck no, don't take the Uber. And so it's like,
so is Lyft the same way?
Yeah, Lyft is in the same boat too. So it's like all of the
Really?
rideshare apps are like, now they're trying to figure out how to get profitability. So that's why they're pushing more of the surge pricing and all that kind of stuff. And and taxis are starting to catch up a little bit. So instead of taking an Uber that day, I downloaded an app for the taxi company that caused the car accident that gave me a brain injury. So that felt really good giving them money. But they got me into the office for $45 when Uber wanted $120. And someone was mentioning that in the article where they're talking about, needing a ride to JFK, and it was going to cost them like $100 American to take that ride when a taxi cab was going to be like 40. But they were like, good luck finding a fucking taxi cab. Like, and that's where Uber is getting people in some markets is, sure, you can find a cheaper ride, but it's like, can you find it? Like, you can get, and so that's where
they're around. Yeah,
exactly. So it's interesting. Like, I'm kind of curious to see what this like rationalizing of ride shares is going to be like, because, Ubers were so cheap for the longest time. And now we're starting to see the prices go up.
Well, I've always just had them, I don't think, it hasn't been until like the past few years where I actually took a taxi. If I ever needed, when I started to have that need, there was always a Lyft or an Uber. If I was traveling more or for work or whatever else, when I had to use a taxi, it was like, this isn't so bad. And sometimes it was even cheaper. It was, before the, end of the subsidy, like you were mentioning. But, sometimes when the cabs were cheaper, it's like, maybe we need to reconsider, maybe this whole Airbnb and Lyft thing, and like something to be said about good old fashioned taxis and hotels.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I did stay in Airbnb when I was in Toronto, and the grumpy old Asian man that ran it added a really interesting ambiance to it, because he would just like, I would see him almost every morning in the hallway where my room was, just sort of like angrily ironing the sheets from like, the night before or whatever. You don't get that in a hotel. Like that's something that like,
the extra
that was worth the extra for the Airbnb. And, I gave him 5 stars, even though the bed was fucking terrible. He got 5 stars because, that the place had character. But it was interesting too on that trip. I like taking black car services, and it sounds kind of bougie because people are like, oh, limos are like expensive and shit. But when you look at like the cost of like a taxi or an Uber or things like that, taking a black car in most places, their pricing is like locked in for certain things. So it is usually only like, between 15 and maybe like $20, maybe $30 more to do that than other cars. So when I get home to Toronto sometimes and, wasn't feeling like waiting for a taxi or an Uber or whatever, because that's the other joy of like when you're getting an Uber at like an airport or something, half the time they don't even know where they're supposed to pick you up. So you end up like wasting like 30 minutes waiting for them to figure out how to find you.
Or you have to walk 20 minutes to the specialized rideshare drop-off area, whereas the taxis are always right up at the gate.
Exactly. So I always found black cars were great for that. And so I took a black car the last time I was in Toronto to my Airbnb from the airport. And it was interesting talking with the guy because I noticed like Vancouver eliminated black cars completely. There's no more black car service in Vancouver whatsoever. And I asked him like, what was happening with things over there. And he said a similar thing is starting to happen there, where a lot of the people that run black cars are just deciding to get out of it because they're all owner operators. So they have to buy those vehicles themselves and run them and, all of that. So all the dudes whose leases came up during COVID, they just like sold the cars and found a different job because they're just like, I'm fucking out of here. Like, I'm losing money. And I felt really like I gave this guy like a wicked crazy tip because I felt really bad for him after the trip. But he's like, I got this car like 3 months before the pandemic happened, and he's just
man.
like, it's a 4-year lease, so he's just like, I'm just waiting for this lease to be over so that I could like get out of it
That
and just
sucks.
do something else. And yeah, it was crazy, like hearing him talk about like, you know, how much it costs to run it, and he's barely breaks even half the time, but he's just like, I made these commitments, so it's just like, you know, this is what's going on. And it's just like, god damn, like, you know, things are tough all over.
Yeah, that sucks.
So make sure to tip your cab drivers, Uber peoples, things
Always.
like that. You know, because
Always.
if you don't want to do that, then you should make someone else cart your ass around.
Exactly. Do a solid.
Yeah, exactly. Do a solid. It makes it, and compliments. It's always nice to compliment people. You know, tell them something nice. Like, hey, that's a cool shirt you've got there. I like your glasses, Andy. They look really nice.
Ah, thank you very much.
You're
I
most
like your
welcome.
humor. I like your background. What's the background you got there?
Oh, so I put in this like, it's like sound foam.
Oh,
So-
is it fun? Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I in my studio space here, I've got like a little studio in an old motel. So this was it's a reformed motel room from a motel that's been around since 1954. And
Oh, wow.
this space that I'm in right now used to be like this little alcove where like the desk was. But I put a platform just above me, maybe a foot above me, so I have some storage space. And I made this like where my desk is. And so I've got this sort of like half or 3/4 soundproofed cube. And then the rest of it's just open to the rest of the studio over there. Actually, I think I could pop this off. Oh no. Okay. Can you hear me again?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, I was
Oh, I see that. Oh, nice.
okay. So this is my setup with the stuff and everything. Oh. There's the studio space over there. They got like soundproofing on the ceilings, on the walls kind of stuff. The bathroom's over there. That's going to be the dark room at some point. And then there's like a city view. And yeah, that's the studio space.
Nice.
And then that's the Rodecaster setup here.
Yeah.
Just upgraded
Very
to
cool.
a new MacBook Pro and realized just while this was happening that I can use the mouse and keyboard that are on the MacBook to go into my iPad, which I'm broadcasting from. So I'm like, that's cool.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, look at Apple, you know, finding ways to justify spending heaps of money with them.
They're really good at that, aren't they?
They really are. Like, they just like taking our money.
You know what? And I love giving it to them. I'm not gonna lie.
No, I'm not going to lie
Like to see
either.
what-
Like,
I'm ready for the new announcements to come out.
well, that's next week, right? Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Well, and so that's why I bought this new MacBook this week, because like I just bought like the cheapest MacBook Pro I could get, which is like the 13-inch Touch Bar one, and everyone hates on the Touch Bar. I don't really give a shit about the Touch Bar. But I've been using
Mine has it. It's never bothered me.
I kind of like it. It's sort of neat.
Yeah.
But I've been using a base model Mac M1 Mini at home, like the 8 gig 256 one. And I've been using that for over a year now, I think. And it's been absolutely deadly. Like I use it for Photoshop, Lightroom, InDesign, doing
Wow.
audio stuff. And I've never had any issues with it. So I decided, you know, before the Apple announcements come out and they probably jack up prices on things and get rid of the cheaper stuff, I'm going to go
Right.
buy this cheap MacBook Pro before you can't get them.
Get it on it before you can. Before you can't.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, it's actually kind of cool now because I'm just like, holy shit, when I've got, because I started using the iPad to do the broadcasts because it just makes it a little easier to see like a bigger screen and all that. But now this is cool because I could just use the keyboard that's on it to do stuff over here. Sorry. I went on a tangent there.
No, that's all right. But I was going to ask you to get things back on the photography path. You asked me about projects or anything. I was going to ask you if you had anything you were working on.
Oh man. So, as someone who's discovered that they have ADD or ADHD or whatever it is now as an adult, I have lots of things that I'm working on. None of them that are really happening right now. But, there's.
I know exactly what you mean by that.
Yeah, there's dozens and dozens of things I've started or have hopes or plans to do so.
Right.
But hey, Stephanie, more books. So books is something that I've really enjoyed doing. I've got a bunch of books that I'm planning on doing. Also talking with some people about maybe helping them with some book projects. I was in Toronto for a group exhibition that we opened up last month that will still continue on. Yeah. Was it Debased, Deranged Degenerates is what I called it, because me and the three other people are kind of all fucked up. It was sort of funny because one of my friends, she's like, I'm not a degenerate. And I'm like, I know you. You are. She's like,
I say this in love, but yes, you are.
Exactly. I'm like, you may have been the inspiration for the name.
Yeah.
But that's going to continue to run until the end of June. And all of those photos are available for sale. So if you're in Toronto and you want to check out some cool street photos and maybe take some home, Queen Shop Hair, it's on Bloor Street West, between Dover Court and I can't remember. Queen Shop Hair. You can Google it. You can find it there. And there's links to it in my feed too if you go dig around there. But I'm also planning on putting together a book of all that stuff too, for people that weren't able to make it to Toronto, that were interested to check it out. So I was hoping to have the book done before I left, and I was going to offer it as a zine thing, because I don't know if you saw it when I was doing the panning, but I've got a huge, massive HP large format color laser printer in the corner of the studio here. And so
yeah.
That thing is wicked badass. I got it for $200 off of Facebook Marketplace, and I got lots of plans for it. But I couldn't get the sequencing to work right. And it was I was trying to figure out the day before I was supposed to be flying out, and I hadn't packed yet. So I'm like, book's not happening. So the new plan for the book is, I have a bunch of photos from the event. So it's going to be pictures, the pictures that are in the exhibition, and then some photos from the event, and just kind of have it as a, celebratory book of, the whole adventure.
Very cool. Man, I need to talk to you more about putting a book or a zine together if you're getting into the book thing that much.
Absolutely. So
I have to do a part 2.
Yeah, the book stuff I find so much fun, because I think it's a great medium. Not only books but zines. Any way to get your work into print and get it off of a computer, get it off of Instagram, and just in people's hands.
Yeah.
It's I still love Instagram as a platform for connecting. I think it is dying a little bit in some ways. All the crypto shit is really starting to drain and all the scamming, but it still has some heart. They haven't completely killed it yet, so I still have some hope for it. But as a medium to actually share and do things, I think print is really important. Either zines, photo books, actually printing your work and selling it. Even the postcard series, Jason did that postcard series recently, which was really cool, from his daily walks.
Yeah.
And so stuff like that I find really interesting. And so to support those kinds of things, another project that I started, that I'm still sort of chugging away at, is something I call the Ministry of Confabulation. And that's a thing that I've started to help other people do photo books and print projects and things like that from the things that I've learned and the tools that I've figured out how to use is just to help other people who want to get into it, put things out there. So, all of the books I'm releasing now, I release under the Ministry of Confabulation, which is a real word. It's oh shit, what is it? I can't remember the full definition here. Let me look it up so I don't fuck it up. I got a kick out of the sound of it too. Like confabulation is it just sounded like a really interesting word.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so in psychology, confabulation is a memory error defined as the production or fabricated, distorted, or misinterpreted memories about oneself or the world. It is generally associated with certain types of brain damage, especially aneurysm or like other things. And, you know, it's about like making stories up effectively. And I came up with the idea after my car accident where I got a brain injury from it. So I was like, I like this whole like brain injury aspect with it because, you know, I enjoy sharing stories. And, you know, what's better than like creating stories with other people and sharing them out there. So that's where confabulation came from.
And even the subjective nature of, you know, what the photographer saw when the picture was taken versus how it hits the viewer, you know, that it just kind of encompasses all the different aspects of that.
Exactly. Like it's because we're always trying to fabricate some kind of narrative, and what we create oftentimes isn't what some people will see, because we all have different experiences that shape our psyches and who we are and everything. So when we see something, like we may have a different intention for a photo we've created, but then when someone looks at it, it elicits or brings up all these different feelings or memories. And I think that's one of the coolest parts of photography for me is just finding those photos that like bring feelings out in you and creating those as well. Because there's lots of really pretty photos out there, like tons of them. But I haven't really come across many that like give you like a feeling, like almost like pull you into the photo kind of thing. And that's sort of like my great white buffalo is, you know, finding those photos and sometimes making those photos.
Yeah. No, I agree. I always appreciate photography, you know, looking at galleries or museums or something like that, or even just, you know, scrolling through Instagram or something. But every now and then you just kind of, something that makes you freeze, you know, and you just get sucked in, you know, like that, you know, few things really kind of create that kind of reaction, you know. It's almost like you're seeing it in person, you know, but it's not. I don't know. It's just the fact that these images created by other people can create that impact on you in that sense and the feeling on you and everything is really, it what sucks me in too. So
absolutely.
I love that. It's not every picture. It's fairly rare, but man, when it happens, it's amazing.
Yeah, when it happens, it is really amazing. Like one that comes to mind is Larry Clark photo. You ever see the pregnant woman photo that he did as the Tulsa series?
I'm sure I have. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I'm sure I've seen it.
Yeah, it's a extremely powerful photo. I saw it for the first time during the Tulsa exhibition that went alongside Jason's exhibition in 2019. And it wasn't one of the photos that got printed because it was apparently too controversial, but it was in the Tulsa book. And it's this photo of like a pregnant woman who's not wearing a top sitting in this chair, and she's just being drenched with all this like beautiful light, and like she almost looks like ethereal, like just glowing with all this light. And so when you look at the photo, you're immediately drawn to all of the light, and then you see she's pregnant, and then you see that there's like a heroin needle hanging out of her arm, and you're just like, whoa. Like you don't notice it right away. Like as you're soaking the photo in, you kind of notice it, and you're just like, you feel the gravity of it. And I've talked about this photo in other episodes, so it's one that definitely like sticks in my mind. But stuff like that is just so powerful and interesting.
Yeah. Wow.
So, quick question: what's one of your or a few of your like favorite photographers that you like draw inspiration from?
Oh crap. Crap. I need to I don't have a list in my head ready to go. I'm really bad about that. I'm terrible with names. I'm like I said, I need to like put a list together. There was a exhibition last time we were in Chicago on vacation at one of the museums, and I went through and took pictures. Like every photo, like, I got to remember this name so I wouldn't forget. And I don't even know where this picture's are. I lost on my phone. Terrible about that.
So you've forgotten.
I've forgotten everybody that I love. I will say, I'm probably nothing earth shattering. I don't think there's anybody that I don't have any like secret, this unheard of photographer that's really amazing. You should find their stuff. I don't have any surprises like that. I'm as influenced and turned on by the kind of the regular stuff. Jason Lee's recent books have been great. The Galveston book, because I grew up in that area, is it's great. It just feels like driving around Galveston when I was a kid on the way to the beach. It's just the views and everything has just created that sense of being in that space and living there or living nearby and having it being just a regular occurrence. He captured that so well. Oh man, I can't believe you stumped me on such a basic question.
No, that's fine. But Jason's a great one because like I think he'll easily become like a great American photographer, like in history times kind of thing. Like, not just because like fanboying out, but like legitimately like his photos are just really excellent at archiving like the state of Americana. Like A Plain View is one of my favorite books that I have in my collection, and it just because it reminds me of like my childhood. Like my dad loved doing road trips, and he loved going to like these like small dickhole towns and stuff, and so it's just like going through Plainview just reminded me of all of these like nondescript places that I drove around in. The name of that's Jason Lee, and it's just called Galveston. If you go to jasonleefilm.com, he doesn't have any copies left. But if you're interested in checking out the Galveston book, the Galveston Historical Society still has a few copies left. So if you Google the Galveston Historical Society, I don't know if they have a web store or something, but you can get a copy of the book there. And the Galveston book is very cool because it's similar to like A Plain View where he just drove around somewhere and took photos of things. So like A Plain View was that North Texas or?
I don't know if it was. It's partially North Texas. I know there's a lot of Denton and Decatur and places like that. Yeah. I'm so bad. I'm trying to thumb through my Amazon purchase history. Some of the recent books that I've got.
No worries.
To answer your question, I will say that. So there's another one that I can point out. Fred Herzog is another one I was thinking about. Again, not a big surprise. The Modern Color book. So many people have that. And
Herzog is just phenomenal too in his own right. And funny, like you mentioned Herzog. My guest next week was a longtime friend of Herzog, and he's still alive.
Oh, very
kicking,
cool.
But he knew Fred from way back in the day, and helped him out a lot of his photo walks and stuff. So. His name's Henry Robideau, and he will be on the chat next week. We'll be broadcasting from his studio.
Oh, very cool. I will tune in. I'll watch that. That's very cool. Another one, Pat Samson from Wilco, the band Wilco.
Oh, crazy.
He's a film and instant film photographer, like really big, and takes a bunch of cameras on tour. And either before sound check or in between sound check and playing, if he has time, he'll just walk around.
Oh yeah, you guys had him on PolaCon 5, right?
Yeah. He was on the PolaCon. I guess that was the virtual year, the 2020 year, I think. Yeah. He was one of our guests on that. His stuff is really great. He's got a great eye. And he had a book. I think the book he put out was like 100. I think it's called 100 Polaroids. I think he still has some copies on his website. I'll try to look it up real quick. I don't remember what it is, but his name is Pat Samson. He's in Wilco.
How do you spell that?
Pat, B-A-T, Samson, S-A-N-S-O-N-E. His Instagram has a lot of those pictures on it, and it's really good too. So I can find his website. He's known so much more as a musician that when you Google him, it's all music stuff.
Who doesn't like Wilco?
I don't see a person one.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Everybody loves Wilco.
It's almost like Minolta. Everybody loves Minolta.
Exactly. There's I just found a Flickr gallery that actually was not even curated by him. It was curated by somebody else. Polaroids by Pat Samson. So if you Google that, it pops up, and I see a lot of pictures from the book and a lot of other pictures that aren't in the book. It's great. He's really good. I think I like that because it's somebody that it makes sense that a musician would also be into photography. But a lot of times, like Jason, he's known for an actor. It's just, people just have a hard time accepting more than one thing, or it can be hard for folks like that to get established in one creative field and then also try to get established in another creative field and be taken just as seriously or critically accepted or something. So, I don't know. I think, it kind of comes off like, oh, Pat has a little hobby when he has free time on the road. He takes pictures, but no, I mean, it's just like hanging out with us at PolaCon doing a photo walk around Denton or something. Going after the same thing, taking the same types of pictures with the same kind of eye, and going through his book. It's like I could totally hang with this guy. Like I don't, when you get past the idea of like, oh my God, I'm hanging out with Pat Samson from Wilco, and you're like, oh, I'm hanging out with this other guy who has just as much love for Polaroid that I do. I'd love to go on a walk with Pat sometime and hang out and like see what he sees. And
you got to get him out for PolaCon then.
Well, we'd love to. Man, does Wilco like ever not play anymore? I mean, they are just I don't think there's a gap in the schedule where that would even be possible.
You got to get.
I felt lucky we were able to get him.
You got to get Wilco to come to Rubber Gloves.
They played one of the theater auditorium buildings at University of North Texas in 2013, I think, something like that. So they've been to Denton before. All we got to do is just get them to come back.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody loves Denton.
It's the home of happiness, man. You got to live there.
Yeah, I mean, I got to admit, the first time I went to Texas, I was a little bit terrified, and I wasn't sure what to expect. And Denton kind of stole my heart. Like, I really fell in love with that place. And, I thought a few times throughout the years of like, maybe relocating there at some point. We'll see. Who knows? But Denton is a really cool place. And, for anyone there that hasn't gathered that PolaCon is really awesome, you definitely should check it out. It's the last weekend of September going into October. Starts on the Friday, but there might be some stuff on Thursday. I heard there's some rumors of some like pre-game stuff.
Yeah, there may be some semi-official, semi-unofficial pre-game JFK-related activities on Thursday. There's been some requests from out-of-towners that wanted to see Dealey Plaza and some other landmarks like that. So That might be some pregame.
They want to
before
shoot
the
some
State Fair on
Polaroids from
Friday.
the grassy knoll.
Yeah. Stand
That
on
could
the
be
X
interesting.
in the middle of the road where the shots happen.
Yeah, so it's
Dallas isn't weird at all.
not weird at all. But it's definitely worth checking out if you like Polaroid or even just like photography in general, because there's a lot of cool workshops that happen that aren't all about focused on instant photography. So it is definitely worth checking. And then the zines and things, which happens on Saturday, is also very cool. Lots of cool stuff to be purchased.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you were saying about not just instant film. We had somebody 2 years ago that had a camera. I mean, I think you were probably there, but in a trailer. Like the trailer was a camera.
Yeah. That thing was
full on.
What was that dude's name? Because that was the last year that Ellen was there too.
Yeah, there was this, literally it was, using a trailer as the light box and setting up, the lenses on one side and it was a camera in a trailer and they just backed it up and then took it off the truck and then we could walk inside and stand inside the camera as they were posing up a shot and everything. It was pretty incredible.
Yeah, it was wild.
Not a instant film necessarily centered thing, but definitely, the idea of a basic stripped down fundamental type of approach, kind of an extension of like doing tintypes and wet plates and stuff as like, it's the first form of instant film because when you can see when those things are developed, it's like, oh yeah, it develops right before my eyes, so it's just kind of the same concept of like really appreciating very basic fundamental elements of photography. Not just strictly Polaroid or Instax or stuff like that.
Well, and I remember when he was doing the demo, he was like, it's nearly instant because he's like, I can make an image in like 2.5 minutes from like imprint to like developing it. Cause like the trailer was like 3/4 the camera and then the other quarter was like a dark room inside of it. So it was kind of crazy that, for him to do focusing, he would have to like back the camera, like the whole trailer, like he'd have to back it up with the car and like move it around to like do the focusing. I think he got hired,
but it's amazing.
He got hired by the Parks Board to shoot a bunch of national park stuff with that camera.
That's a great idea. I hope so.
He did. That
awesome.
was what he went on to after PolaCon.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Did any of those get published anywhere?
I'm not sure. I just remember that like he was working on that project. He was a really interesting cat. So yeah, PolaCon is definitely worth checking out. And then there's like lots of cool music stuff that happens on because like Daniel's a huge like music buff, and so the Rubber Gloves venue is really cool too. I like that place.
Yeah, the music it's always a big part, and it's as much just to show off Denton a little bit more, but also trying to give people a different thing to shoot. Live music is not always something that's easy to shoot on Polaroid. So being able to kind of, put something together and, craft an experience like that kind of ties together a little bit more of what Denton has to offer as a town and give you a little bit more of the experience of being there. And also, oh, cool. It's nighttime when you think, it's time to put the cameras away and chill out for a little bit. No, here's this whole other thing that we get to try to shoot, and get to experience. So yeah, and never stops. Daniel's great at planning all that stuff out.
And I was also talking to Daniel, and I've got to talk with him a little bit more about this, of like bringing all of the podcasting gear down and doing like a live session, maybe during like the State of the Union or something like that, where we can, because I remember the first year I went to PolaCon when Brandy was still doing her podcast, they recorded an episode there. So I was like, we haven't had that in a while.
Yeah, that was fun.
I'm going to bring all the gear down so we could do like a live session and have some fun with that. So I'm really looking forward to that.
That'd be great. Yeah, that's an awesome idea.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. Get a panel, get some people out there, because the last one we had to wait for it to go before they uploaded it. So this time it'll be kind of real time, and then upload it in podcasts after. So definitely looking forward to hitting Texas because it's been way too long. Can't wait to see Armand. I missed the Denton Camera Exchange. So like that's another cool part of going down for PolaCon is you get to see the Denton Camera Exchange, which is run by Armand. And it's one of the coolest camera stores I've ever come across. He's got all sorts of cool shit there.
It's great. Yeah. At least a big chunk of one of the days is some event is based out of Denton Camera. We'll do a workshop out of there or a meet and greet or something. Actually, one of the Saturday night concerts was actually in the camera store.
Yeah, I remember that.
One year, which was very intimate, very loud, but also, I mean, what a great, lots of strobe lights and, crazy lights. And it was it's a really unique opportunity to shoot Polaroids in a way that you probably don't get a chance to do that very often. Even at most shows, you're just so far away from the stage and the artist, you can't give, really good shots. But that kind of gives an idea of how Daniel tries to plan that and give everybody a chance to do something a little bit different. You can get some interesting shots out of it. So
it was definitely intimate that year. That was 2018 PolaCon. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
PolaCon 3. Cool. Well, I mean,
that's only been that long.
It's been a minute. Like, I'm sad that I missed out on the first two PolaCons, but I'm glad that I found it. In the end there. Yeah, I got to thank Armand a ton for that because he was the one that convinced me to come to Texas. And, also have to thank Jason because I would have never met Armand if he hadn't have brought him to Boston. So, big thanks to Jason, too, for, introducing me to a lifelong pal. 'Cause I miss and I love Armand very much. He's a great guy. And also to
really
Lord Dickhead, who's on the chat here, Mr. John Erickson. Much love to that guy. I miss you a lot, dude, and hope that we can shoot some Polaroids and have a drink soon. The people that you meet through the PolaCon family are just amazing. There's so many rad people.
It's a great little community. It really is.
Yeah. Well, Andy, I appreciate you hanging out with me for a bit. And, it's been a lot of fun chatting with you about all sorts of things, mostly photography, but, a few tangents.
Microphones and,
Yeah, microphones and
I
Ubers.
appreciate you asking me. That's right. I appreciate being asked. Like I said, when you get a lot of much more accomplished and talented photographers on here and to kind of be asked to be a part of that conversation is great, and it means a lot to me. And missing you last year for Bay Area. Hope you come back. Like you said, you already got time off, so I'm expecting to see you.
Oh, I will
September. So
I will be down there with bells on, and probably staying for a bit too because I might stick around for Steve's birthday. Because I think he said it was like around the 10th or something. So I'm planning to be in Texas for a while, and
good.
And then if I get the Rona while I'm down there, then I'm just going to shack up with Armand for an extra 2 weeks.
Get boosted.
Yeah.
We like we did every other year, I think last year, we made a big point. Everything we do is going to be outdoors and shaded, but, spacing will be possible. Masks will be available, hand sanitizers all over the place. We'll do what we can. So if anybody feels a little squeamish about gathering in massive enclosed places, I still do a little bit. I totally understand. But we try to take care of everybody as much as you can. So
it's kind of interesting. So I was in Nashville a couple of weeks ago for a week-long work conference, and something like 38% or something like that of people that attended got COVID. A couple of people on my team that I was like close in proximity with got COVID.
Oh no.
I didn't though, and the rest of my team didn't. So we were just like, when we heard these other people got COVID, we're like, oh shit, are we going to get it too? But it's been a couple of weeks. I've been testing and checking, and so far Rona free. So dodged a bullet there. So I'm hoping Texas will be the same story.
I think so. I think we'll be okay.
Awesome. Well, I will see you in a couple of months, and thanks for hanging out. And do you
Sounds
have any parting words or messages or things you'd like to say to the people?
One quick thing. I think I saw Brian on the chat earlier. I don't know if he's still online, but I did want to note. I think we kind of mentioned it on Instagram and stuff, but I did want to note the picture of me, the portrait that you used to promote the show. That was a wet plate portrait that Brian did at PolaCon a couple years ago. So just wanted to point that out. And if you guys are interested in Instant Film Society, we're on Twitter as Use Instant Film, but everywhere else we're Instant Film Society, Facebook, Instagram. So give us a quick follow and learn more about PolaCon there, and stay tuned with some of the things we have coming up pretty soon. And that's about it.
Thank you for reminding me about Brian's photo, because I forgot to tag on that. But Brian is a fantastically talented photographer who does really cool tintype work and Polaroid work, and just overall is an excellent creative in the Chicagoland area. If you want to check him out, his Instagram's Theory of a Brian, and wicked talented guy. I miss him and Mary very much as well too. So looking forward to seeing them sometime soon.
Yeah, we need to make sure they come down for PolaCon this year too. I miss seeing them.
Yeah, they're the best. It's so many people are awesome in the PolaCon family, so it'll be good to see everyone again. But I'm going to let Mr. Mocha walk us out here. Thank you again, Andy, and tune in next week.
Merlin.
We're going to have Henry with us, and he's going to be talking about his time in Japan during one of the last Canada Art Council trips to Japan, where he was supposed to meet a bunch of government people and stuff like that. So Henry's an interesting cat. He has a lot of fantastic work. He's not on Instagram, trying to convince him to do that, but we're going to be broadcasting from his studio in East Vancouver, and it should be a lot of fun. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you next week. Cheers, guys.